Hey guys, Dr. Jim Stepani here. It's 3 o'clock as my hot rod clock informs us. And it's time for another Friday Google Hangouts Q&A session. So I often spend a lot of time going off on tangents or little rants. So let me jump right into the questions right away. And let's see. The first question comes from Walter Mattia Parisi. And Walter's question is, what's your take on the pop that comes from the joints, such as the spine, during static stretching or during yoga? It feels like a pleasure for me, but do you know if there's some science behind it and if it's safe or unsafe for joint wellness? And for those of you who don't realize it, he's talking about, cracking your joints, your knuckles, ankles, knees, shoulders. Anyway, what the research has actually just confirmed, and this is a brand new study that was released within the month, actually, and they actually found that the debate always was when a joint cracked. So let's say you crack your knuckles. What was the noise? And you say, well, it's gas leaving the joint, but research, it is air related, but what the research was showing was that it's the cracking, the pulling the joints apart allows air into that capsule, and what used to be thought was that it was the popping of the bubble that made the cracking noise, but a brand new study showed that it's actually the appearance of the bubble in the joint capsule that's actually making the noise, not the popping of that bubble. So it was pretty interesting from a science standpoint, but most experts don't feel that cracking bones is any issue whatsoever. It's it seems to be fairly healthy, doesn't lead to any other issues down the road, and some experts say it's literally like a bone massage, if you will. So as far as my concern is, doesn't seem to be anything I would caution against, Walter. So that's my little take on that. Hopefully you found some of that interesting, that little tidbit. But anyway, there you have cracking your joints, or popping your joints. Here's one from Mina Sedholm. Hi Jim, love your workouts and tips. I have a couple of questions. I've read that tuna is linked to mercury poisoning. How much is too much? Well, with tuna, canned tuna, yes, there can be a bit of mercury depending on where it was sourced. But some data that I've seen actually suggests that the benefits of fish, particularly fattier fish like salmon and albacore tuna, the health benefits far outweigh any possible risk for mercury contamination. So still recommend that if you're pregnant, obviously, or if you're trying to get pregnant, that you do avoid tuna, canned tuna, at least have no more than 1, maybe 2 servings a week. For most people, 3, even 4 servings a week is fine. So I wouldn't worry too much. You could also use tuna like Wild Planet's tuna, which is not only higher in omega-3 fats, but is also claimed to be lower in mercury levels as well than most other canned tuna. So that's another option. And the tuna is amazing, that wild planet tuna, for those of you who have seen it. And it actually lists how much you're getting from DHA and EPA, the different omega-3 fats, which is pretty impressive. It helps to sort of make sure you're getting adequate numbers, as I recommend to get about 1,500 milligrams of both DHA and at least 1,500 milligrams of EPA per day as your goal for getting in omega-3 fats. Here's one from Mohammed, and Mohammed asks, what's the most appropriate chest workout that widens the chest from the side instead of getting it puffed from the front? So more outer chest size. Probably one of the best exercises there are flies, dumbbell flies, getting a good stretch, and decline dumbbell flies as well. And then internal rotation, actually, with cable. You can watch my video on that. It's on my YouTube channel. I have a internal external rotation video, but it actually works quite well to target the outer pec. So those are some of the best choices right there for you, Mohammed, to use to focus on that outer pecs. Here's one from Rob Hansen. Rob is asking about branched chain amino acids. Said, I'm aware of your thoughts on BCAA supplementation, but I'm going to go there anyway for a few quick things. Would you be able to shed some light in layman terms on the adverse effects of using BCAAs in a fasted state? It's a well-known recommendation to take BCAAs in those situations. However, I've read that it does something to insulin levels, in which case lessens the ability for fat to mobilize, or something like that. English, please. And most of us know, thanks to you, that you won't burn more fat in a fasted environment anyway. Okay, so branched chain amino acids in fasting. You know, I talked about this. If you watch my, well, if you listen to my podcast or watch my video cast, I covered this in my most recent episode, which was fasting, fasting workouts, doing workouts fasted or not. And I did cover on branched chains a bit. So we'll go over that again. Now, it really depends on how stringent a person wants to be when it comes to fasting and truly fasting. And I don't mean it just from a calorie standpoint. I mean it from a whole body standpoint. Do you want your body to be in a true fasted state? And most of the research that's been done on fasting is individuals are in a real fasted state. They're not giving any branched chain amino acids. They're not giving any other supplements. They're in a true fasted state. Now, the problem with branched chain amino acids, a lot of intermittent fasting experts claim to take branched chain amino acids to help prevent muscle breakdown during the fasting period. Well, here's the problem with branched chain amino acids in particular. Amino acids in general, and especially the essential amino acids, these all come from food. So when your body is breaking down, you ate a piece of steak or eggs or a chicken breast, it digests those all down into amino acids. So taking amino acids, whether it's branched chains or other amino acids, is basically feeding the body. And leucine is really problematic because, as Rob mentioned, it actually can increase insulin release. It signals the pancreas to secrete insulin into the bloodstream. However, in addition to this, leucine affects, it actually, the brain uses it as a signaling molecule. So leucine is a signaling molecule to the brain when the body is in a fed state. It actually works very similar with mTOR in the way leucine instigates muscle growth, how leucine reacts in the brain as a signal that the body is in a fed state. So, you know, the real benefits of fasting, obviously some of the benefits are just that time period that you don't eat. So you eat fewer calories and fewer total macros throughout the day. But the real benefit is the body going into that fasted state. And my old lab at Yale School of Medicine actually was one of the first, research teams to look at what fasting was doing on genes, and particularly genes involved in metabolism. And what our lab found was that when you fasted, you basically increased your uncoupling proteins. And uncoupling proteins are basically proteins that basically poke holes in your mitochondria, which are in all cells, which is where we derive a lot of our energy. So what these uncoupling proteins do is cause your body to be less efficient. So you have to burn more, you basically have to burn up more food to get less energy. So it's less efficient. It's putting more heat off. What these uncoupling proteins do is sort of interrupt that, energy conversion along the biochemical pathways, and causes it to produce less actual ATP or less energy, produce more heat. So, but that is due to the body being in a truly fasted state. So we don't know, we don't have the answer to this because no one's actually studied this. Would consuming branched chain amino acids only during your fasting period, would the leucine signal the brain enough that it's fed that you basically lose the benefit of having greater uncoupling protein production? Would you lose that benefit of fasting because you aren't truly in a fasted state? So I don't recommend using branched chain amino acids for that reason. If you're actually going to fast, you should fast. So, there's no fats, no macros whatsoever. And the amino acids are protein. They're, macros for protein. So those technically count as macro, but leucine in particular, leucine is problematic because, like I said, it's used as a signaling molecule for the brain, letting it know that it's in a fed state. So would you lose some of those benefits that occur when the body, these gene activities, the body is actually turning on genes to produce more of these uncoupling proteins? That all comes from signaling from the brain. A lot of that comes from, as well as the liver and other organs in the body. But if the brain is being told that it's fed thanks to the appearance of leucine, then my guess is that some of those benefits that occur with with gene activation, activation of genes caused by being in a true fasted state, you would probably lose some of those benefits. So that's the main reason why I don't recommend branched chain amino acids. So not too many people got bored off of that. But anyway, so that's the real point behind leucine. And then you do also can, also see a insulin response, which is another signal that the body's fed. So these are all giving the body mixed signals, because you're feeding it something that doesn't appear to be actually food, but the body is perceiving it as food. And then what sucks there is that consuming branched chain amino acids, if you're fasting, does not satiate you. I mean, sure, maybe flavored one is going to taste good, but it's not really filling you up. It's not like real food. Yeah, you're still feeling like you're starving, yet you're not getting the benefits of actually starving, because you're interrupting that by supplementing with branched chain amino acids. So if you're really going to go on intermittent fasting, whether it's the 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of feeding, or whether you do the 24 hours twice a week, I would recommend avoiding branched chain amino acids and letting your body go into an actual proper state of fasting. Another one from Rob about branched chain amino acids before bed. Said, how is it not a recommendation for branched chains to be in a before bed picture? If it makes sure the fire is lit for protein synthesis, why not pairing it with your before bed shake to get a better bang, or just a waste of money? Actually, yeah, it is a good idea to get branched chain amino acids in your nighttime protein drink. However, if you use a blend like from ProGym, then you're going to have whey, which is a rich source of branched chain amino acids, in with the casein. And in that case, you would just want to make sure to get over 30 grams to 40 grams. So about somewhere a little over a scoop and a half of ProGym, and you're getting adequate leucine along with your casein, which is why I actually recommend getting a protein blend now before bed, not just pure casein, but getting some faster acting whey with the higher branched chain amino acid content, but also you get that faster spike driving muscle protein synthesis up from the whey, and then the casein is going to maintain it higher throughout the night, as well as preventing the increase in protein breakdown that occurs from going that long without food. Here's a question from Chris Lawson on myostatins. Can you explain a little bit about myostatin? Do myostatin inhibitors work? And if so, are they even worth taking? Well, myostatin is basically a protein that we know inhibits muscle growth. So when myostatin levels go up, muscle growth is halted or even decreased. And for a while, we weren't really sure what the mechanism was, but what has been found is that when you lower myostatin, muscle protein synthesis levels increase. So it looks like myostatin is somehow inhibiting muscle protein synthesis. So lowering myostatin by using certain chemicals, natural chemicals, in the case of supplements, to deactivate genes that turn on the production of the myostatin protein. So, and there are certain ingredients that will do this. quite well. And there's other ways of blocking myostatin as well. Now, what's interesting, what few people realize is that creatine has been found to lower myostatin by somewhere in the like 20 to 30% range. And so does weightlifting. When you weightlift, just without taking any supplements, someone who trains, there is a lowering of myostatin levels. Now, there is a ingredient, I won't bore you too much with the biochemistry, from fertilized eggs, the yolks, that seems to be fairly effective, and it's been concentrated and put into a sort of dried powder, and you may know it as MHP's Myo X product. Now, there was some impressive research that came out showing that men that were taking it did see a fairly decent decrease in myostatin levels. So, however, those who actually take the product don't really tend to see as, quite impressive results as one might hope for. And why is that? Well, is it just that product just doesn't work? No, I'm sure that it does work to lower myostatin levels. As a matter of fact, back in the 80s, when I was a teenager and was competing in bodybuilding, we ate raw fertilized eggs because they apparently helped with muscle growth, and they worked quite effective. They were quite effective. I would eat over maybe 24 whole raw fertilized eggs, and it worked pretty well. And mind you, there was no creatine back in the 80s. So it did seem to work well. A few people knew why. They just knew that fertilized eggs worked well, and it seems to be due to that ingredient in the fertilized egg yolk that can block myostatin. So why doesn't the product work so well? Well, I'm not positive, but one very good reason is that people who are buying MyoX are probably already taking creatine. So they're already seeing a drop in their myostatin levels. And then they're also weightlifting. Like I said, weightlifting also gives another suppression of myostatin levels. So given the fact that this person is lifting, probably taking creatine, and maybe other supplements as well that we don't even know yet really have a negative effect on myostatin levels and help to drop myostatin levels down. So the ability for them to naturally lower myostatin levels is probably already maxed out. So taking a product designed to inhibit myostatin levels, to lower myostatin levels, isn't going to really show true results because they're probably already maxed out on how much lower they can drop their myostatin levels. So that's sort of my theory there on that. So there's really been no true myostatin inhibitors that have, worked very, extremely well, where you can say, wow, this is the next creatine. There's really been no ingredient to date. And like I said, that might be just the problem, is that, the ways to naturally lower it, we're already naturally lowering it through our other supplements and activity levels in our diet. So maybe we're pretty much, just maxed out. There's really not, regardless of what we take, we're going to actually see any true benefit. So, but when one does come out that does work, you can be sure I will let you guys know all about it. That's for sure. That's the one thing we're all looking for. Austin Donaldson in the military asks, what's the best advice for training for those of us in the military? Because of the hours that I work, I find it hard to be at the gym because of time limitations, just looking for some helpful advice. Well, we all have time limitations, and I certainly salute you for your service and thank you for what you do. And I hope you know that my website, jimstoppani.com, is 100% free for active military with a .mil email. Just go to my website, jimstoppani.com, sign up with your .mil email. It'll send you a confirmation email that you have to go in and click on, and you're all set. As long as you have that .mil email, it's completely free. You don't have to enter a credit card or anything. You're completely free, just my way of saying thank you for the service and the sacrifices that you make on our behalf. So I understand it's time consuming. You have a lot of responsibilities on your end, but you also have the responsibility of taking care of your body. And obviously Uncle Sam wants you to take care of your body as well, since he represents our defenses. So, you know, it comes to a matter of prioritizing how important it is for you to train. You know, no one can turn on or off that spark that gives people that desire to monitor themselves and keep themselves driven to stay fit and live the fitness lifestyle. It has to come from within. So I always try to recommend that you sort of look in and look out. You look in to yourself, to what are the reasons why you want to look better, be fitter, be healthier. It's pretty obvious. Everyone wants to live a happy, healthy life and be pain-free and have a good quality of life, especially as they age. And looking good is a nice fringe benefit of being fit. And mental health as well. So there's obvious benefits there, but they have to be, those benefits have to mean more to you than the negatives, which is, you know, leaves you a little free time for yourself. You're tired by the time you get to it, and it's a lot of work. It's not easy. So what you need to do is make that sort of fitness plan needs to be your my time. You know, like I said, you don't get any free time because you're exercising. Well, I look at my exercising as, even though it's work for me often, it's my free time. You know, it's my free time, and that's important for reducing stress levels. But also, you know, it's about the commitment and organizing your time and balancing your schedule. I'm, you know, between the content I continue to produce for my own websites, sites like bodybuilding.com, continue work on the supplement line, the travel, you know, my family of 4 kids, I have very little time, but I love it. It's the time I look forward to. Going and training is my time. And the benefits far outweigh any negative that could ever come along. So that's looking within, but, you know, also look outside for people who are looking for inspiration from you. Maybe if you have kids, obviously that's, you know, something you want to show them, this commitment to being healthy and living a fit lifestyle. Maybe it's a brother of yours, a younger brother, or a nephew or niece of yours. So look outside, people who you want to sort of lead by example and show them why living a fitness lifestyle is healthy, and routine exercise is a critical component of anyone's day. So, and then also look for others for support. You know, let people know that you've started a new program and that, you know, you work out these days of the week. If you don't see me in the gym, you know, give me hell. You know, if you see me eating Reese's peanut butter cups, I'm cutting those from my diet, give me hell. So look for sort of support and people to help you monitor yourself as well and stay true to yourself. But mainly the only way you're ever going to succeed is really by grabbing yourself by your own bootstraps, pulling yourself up, and doing it for yourself. That is absolutely essential to success in fitness and maintaining it for the long haul. It's not a quick fix, it's a lifestyle. If you're not willing to change your lifestyle, then make sure you realize you're going to have a lot of failures along the way until you finally make that realization eventually. So, like I said, just make the time. Make the time. It's the most critical thing you can do for yourself. Like I said, for your health and your physical health and your mental health as well. Here is a question from Ahmed. Says, regarding Shortcut to Shred, wondering about the following. If I spend 30 minutes walking on a treadmill before and after the workout, will that help me lose more weight and drop even more body fat? Okay, so let's talk about Shortcut to Shred. Now, Shortcut to Shred is a very intense training program that uses cardio acceleration. So for those of you who don't know, cardio acceleration is where you do very intense cardio, about 60 seconds worth, in between every exercise. So you do a set of the bench press, you do 60 seconds of intense cardio, such as a minute of bench step-ups or running in place or dumbbell cleans. And that's how the whole workout goes. So, Ahmed, if you have not done Shortcut to Shred yet and are not someone who is extremely conditioned and has a lot of training experience, before you worry about adding 30 minutes of cardio, either before or after the workout, let alone both, try the Shortcut to Shred workout first. Because you need to devote your intensity to the cardio acceleration. So doing cardio before may just zap your energy during cardio acceleration, and even knowing that at the end of the workout you still have 30 minutes of cardio left may zap your energy levels during the workout. The workouts were designed for the point that you don't have to find time to do cardio later. That's the cardio acceleration test. So sure, I mean, you know, when it comes down to burning body fat, sometimes it's simply a matter of burning more calories than you're consuming. So you do get to the point where you start adding extra activity, but don't do that right off the bat. Leave that in for when you're down the road and you're having some tough spots that you need to work off. Just stick with trust me, try the program as is. And if you feel that even after giving your 100% all to all the cardio acceleration moves with very little rest in between and just kept moving, if you have more left, then okay, you're the man and you can add an extra 30 minutes of cardio before and after. But most people have their asses handed to them by that program. So that program alone will will ruin many people. So try it first before you worry about adding all this extra cardio. What exercises can I perform to decrease my thigh size? Well, there really aren't any specific exercises that you can do. It's really about losing body fat overall, the entire body. Now, if legs are your area where you hold more body fat and you hold it easily and it's very hard to get rid of it, then that's going to be the last area the fat's going to start coming from. And there's a lot of theories as to why that is, but you just know it is. So you have to get your body fat down to very low percentages before your body will start pulling from those stubborn areas. So you really need to get rid of those stubborn areas. You really need to attack it as though you're actually getting ready for a photo shoot or a competition where you're going to be shredded to the bone. Because what will happen is once you start removing the fat from the areas where it comes off easily for your body, once those have no more body fat to give up, then the body has to turn to the stubborn areas and start pulling fat from those areas. So it takes a long time to get down to that level to where your body will start pulling happily from those troubled areas. So don't give up hope, but there's no real trick exercises for a given muscle group. It's really about overall body fat, getting it off. It says, can increasing the 30 seconds of cardiac acceleration between the sets to 1 or 2 minutes of moderate speed help with more fat dropping, or should it always be to failure? Yeah, you don't. The point of the cardiac acceleration is to keep the intensity up. That's really what it's about. It's a form of high-intensity interval training. And that's what's nice about having those short bursts of cardio. You have, like I said, usually you shoot for a good 60 seconds, but if you're just starting out, 30 seconds is probably the better time to use, and then slowly increase it to 45 and eventually 60 seconds. You can go up to 90 seconds. Once you're getting to above 90 seconds, it's just really hard to maintain a real high intensity that long. So keep it in that ballpark, 60 to 90 seconds. But instead of increasing the time, I would focus on keeping the intensity up between for those cardiac acceleration bouts, and then slowly increasing the time, but not at the expense of intensity. So always try to keep that intensity up. And he says, should I make sure that he's the maximum weight for the desired rep range? And is that what is meant by training the failure? Yes. On Shortcut to Shred, if it says 12 to 15 reps, then you find a weight that limits you to 12 to 15 reps. You should not be able to do more than 15 reps with that weight on the very first set. Don't worry about how many reps you get after that, but the goal is to make sure you hit that rep range no more than what's prescribed for the rep range. So that would be your hitting muscle failure right at around 12 or 13 or 14 or maximum 15 reps. If you can do more than 15 reps in the first set, you have time to increase the weight. Here's a question from Ibrahim Salami. Probably still butchering your name. Sorry about that. What are your thoughts on body-only training? Is it better for fat loss or muscle building, like push-ups, pull-ups, crunch, jump, plank, etc.? Well, if it's, you're on vacation suddenly, you didn't bring bands with you or any sort of resistance, and there's no gym anywhere around, sure, a body weight workout will have to suffice. But a body weight workout is really not it's not the best plan. It's sort of when that's all you have. You're in solitary confinement. That's all you have is your body weight. You need resistance, and you need progressive resistance, meaning you need to be able to change how heavy the resistance is that you're using. So bodyweight only training really limits that ability to do that. So it limits your results. You just can't continue progressing over time. So if you had to say which one is better for muscle building or fat loss, I would say it's best for fat loss, because you could use that as high intensity interval training, cardio movements, doing calisthenic type movements. You can do them for like cardiac acceleration. Like I said, you can do Tabata style, you can do regular HIIT style, or just cycle it up however you feel like. Here's one from Tyler Lofthouse. He says, my question is, why do some guys who are fairly well known and have very good physiques advocate only 1 gram per pound of body weight for protein? I know you say it's somewhere around 1.5, even 2 grams for muscle building. So is it maybe they're just maintaining what they already got previously by having more protein in the diet, or are just losing their potential to have even a greater physique than they already do? Yeah, well, there's always a debate on protein needs, and I've worked with thousands of individual athletes of various levels and of various types. But I've also worked with millions of people online. Literally millions of people have done just trick at the size and trick at the shred, based on the data that bodybuilding.com has, let alone on the other programs that I'm putting out there. So, and with social media and other online capabilities, I'm able to have discussions with these people and get their feedback and learn from a massive pool of individuals who are using my programs, specifically in following sort of my nutrition and supplement tips and methodologies. So that allows me all this data to put together and say, well, this seems to be what really seems to be working here. So there's no reason for me to lie about why this is the amount of protein you need. It's like I said, it's what I've seen to work very well, very, very well. And it makes perfect sense. But again, it has to do with the rest of the diet as well, and it's an issue also of timing and whatnot. So to answer your question on those who are only using 1 gram, is it limiting their potential at all? I mean, very, very possibly. It is, because like I said, once I bump someone up that has been having trouble making progress, we see a very nice change in their physique and in their strength level. So, and there's several research studies that do show that 1.5 grams, right around that area per pound of body weight, is actually more effective than getting in lower dose of protein. So, but in the real world, like I said, I hang my hat on those numbers based on, as long as I've been doing this and as many people as I've worked with, and seeing the results and seeing the differences when you are getting over that much protein and how effective it can be. But again, like I said, it's also about timing and other issues like supplementation. And then Tyler also asked, is weighted exercise is about weighted exercise. Is there any validity to people saying they make you increase waist size unfavorably? No. I'm a firm believer in using resistance for abdominal work because you're trying to build up a muscle. And not only using resistance, but I'm a firm believer in using periodized resistance even for ab training, doing very high reps in some periods and doing much lower reps with heavier resistance, even going down to 6 reps or even fewer reps, depending on the program. So I'm a firm believer in using resistance to build the abs because they're a muscle. You need to build them up. The more built the abs are, the better the definition is in the separation. It doesn't, doesn't make your waist, it's not like they're massive amounts of muscle. And it's just going to make you have this big, blocky waist. Not really. So definitely use resistance, use periodized resistance, changing it up frequently for your abdominal exercises for the best results, and that's what I find. Here's one from Victoria Hellerman. She asks, how do you come off of a low-carb diet like phase 3 in your Shred Cut to Shred program? Phase 3 is where it gets down to 0.5 grams of carbs per pound of body weight. So basically you're eating half your body weight in grams of carbs. So you weigh 200 pounds, you get 100 grams of carbs per day. How do you, when you're done with the diet, how do you change your diet? And that's basically reverse dieting. You need to slowly increase your carb intake. Over time, allow your body to adapt to higher carbs. What you do is you increase it by increase your carb intake by about 0.25 grams per pound of body weight. So, like I said, for a 200-pound person, if they were eating 100 grams, their next move would be to bump it up from 0.5 grams per pound of body weight, or 100 grams of carbs, to 0.75 grams per pound of body weight, which would be 150 grams of carbs. So, and then, you would stay there, making sure that you didn't gain any, decent amounts of body fat. Then you can increase it again to 1 gram, which is going to bring you to 200 grams of carbs per day, and continue 1.25 and so forth. And that's basically how you slowly get back to higher carb intake. And then once your body adapts to higher carb intake, you can, when it's time to lose more body fat, and you start at a higher carb point, and again, slowly drop it down by, I would do about 0.25 grams per pound. Here's a question from Ryan Lasvardi. Says, if you're pretty average build and looking to get cut, but also to put on mass, would you recommend Diet 101 and scale out carbs over weeks? Or should I start with putting in some mass and eat more carbs? Well, sort of depends. If you're average build, then likely you could build both muscle and lose body fat at the same time. So what I would do, Ryan, is definitely use the Dieting 101 guidelines, to get that starting point and see how that starting point works for you. And then very slowly you lower your carbs. You'll still be able to build muscle, because you're starting where you are right now with your diet. And then if adding supplements as well, which can help build more muscle while you're losing body fat, that'll all have quite the impact. So yeah, definitely start with Dieting 101, and you'll be able to do both, lose body fat while you're gaining muscle. Dennis asks, do you follow a diet that cycles high carb, low carb days? And can you break down your macros and timing on such a diet? Diet to people with sedentary lifestyle, working on the computer, but also working out daily. Well, carbs, it depends on the person. I'm a firm believer in finding diets that work for each person, or some people just like to use a variety of diet strategies. I know I do. I play around with my diet. Sometimes I like using intermittent fasting. Sometimes I like going lower in carbs. Sometimes I like cycling carbs. But basically, most of my diets start, and we get a snapshot of that person, of what they're eating currently, and then we alter their macros, making sure they get at least a gram of protein per pound of body weight. Ideally 1.5 grams for those who train, and about 0.5 gram of fat per pound of body weight. The remainder comes from carbs. So from there, we slowly drop carbs over time. And once you get to low carb phase, which I call about 0.5 grams per pound of body weight, then we start implementing a high carb day. So there, your carb cycling is low for many days, and then one big carb up day. That's one strategy of doing it.